Whatever adults have done, they've never done it perfectly yet. And what you will do in your generation, and look like I'm going to get to it, what you will do is improve on what they've done. You will be better than the previous generation. That comes all the time. And how do you get that? How do you acquire that goodness? You acquire greatness the same way he acquired this. This whole idea, this beautiful idea, which so many people know about. He nicked it. It was produced by a Roman called Vitruvius 1500 years before him. And he nicked it, and that's what he did. Now Vitruvius was an incredible man. He helped build the Colosseum in Rome, which went bust because the lions kept eating all the profits. He made aqueducts. They brought from the hills to Rome about 2.5 to 3.5 times as much water as we use today per head. They used 2.5 to 3.5 times as much in Rome 2,000 years ago. And they brought it down aqueducts. And when Faraday and Humphrey Davy went to Italy and France, and they went to Italy and they saw some of these aqueducts, they couldn't believe it. And Humphrey Davy measured one, and he found that one aqueduct, it's not going to happen in an aqueduct like that because the water will whoosh at the end. So you can have a very gentle flow, a measured flow, so you can control it. How gentle was the flow on this aqueduct? What it was a wall of arches with a trough of water across the top, you see. But what was the flow? It has to tilt for the water to flow. And it did tilt. In 5 kilometers, it tilted 10 centimeters. Thickness of my hand. In 10 kilometers. 7 miles. Isn't that incredible? And that's what they can do. But he did this. Now, what is this? This is an aid to learning. Now, the problem with learning today, and I feel learning is really difficult, which is why I'm saying to you kids, you must get your own education. You must demand it. The curriculum is not good enough. It's not good enough to turn you into eggheads, to turn you into brilliant people. It's an indicator of what you're doing and how good you are, but not much more than that. So you've got to broaden it. You've got to have hobbies. You've got to have a desire to learn more. And that's what you have to do. And that's what I did, luckily. And it worked for me. I hope it'll work for you. But what you've got to do is grab information. What was I talking about? I forgot what I was talking about. Right. What this is an aid to learning. That's why it was designed. It was an aid to learning. And let me show you how it works. You, because you're tall, can you stand up? Thank you very much. We'll see if it works with you. Stand here and turn and face the audience. And that is your stature, your height. Can you step away? And that's your height, your stature. I want you to put one middle finger on the floor and the other middle finger try and reach my hand. And you're a bit short because you're very tall for your age. You see, you might settle down and broaden out. But no, well done, thanks very much. But you are tall, and I chose you. And usually if you're very tall, then your reach isn't quite as much. But for the average person, it's almost exactly the same. And this was used as a measure. And it was used as a measure right up to modern times. In fact, if you've ever been on a boat, people measuring a rope will grab the end and go 1, 2, 3, and these lengths are fathoms, 4, 5 fathoms. Put a leg weight on the end when you're coming into a harbour or a beach you don't know about, you lower it and you can tell how deep the water is so your boat won't run aground. It's been used for thousands of years. It's so simple, measuring in fathoms, what you can reach. Now my mother-in-law was a seamstress, and she actually redesigned the Beefeaters costumes at the Tower of London and found that the ruffs were right and went home and made ruffs that she thought were the way they must have made them 500 years ago. And she got it right. She went back and said, I think this is how you make your ruffs. Because they'd actually lost the art of making the ruffs, so she did that. She was great. And she used to measure. She used to make wedding dresses. Now, half of a fathom was a yard. Right? And she'd go 1 yard, 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, and a quarter. And this beautiful silk and dress, wedding dress material, they bought it and they come, oh, here it is. You know, she would go, but she was always right. She was always right. She had a tape measure around her neck. She hardly ever used it. She'd go, yeah, that needs taking 2 inches, 4 inches. Yeah. She had all these measurements. All kinds of measurements. She would do. She knew what that was. You know, she knew what that was. And it was just amazing. And her wedding dresses were good. When Princess Diana was married, the copies of that dress she made, and she used to charge about 50 quid, quite amazing. Anyway, she did all that. But you see, these are measures. Suddenly, when she was doing this, we went metric. And suddenly she's going 1 metre, 2 metres, 3 metres, 4. I'm cricking the neck. But you see, she was forced into it. Did she like it? No. Did she change any of her other measurements? No. Do you like the metric system? No. Let me ask you a question. How many of you in this room can tell me their height in the metric system? Hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Dozen. Hands down. Hands up those who can tell me their height in feet and inches. But we stopped using feet and inches. Or we've been forced to stop using feet and inches. And in actual fact, using feet is very good because a foot was a foot and was a foot was a foot, and you can mark it out. And we could do that, and we always did that when we marked out goalposts. At least the goalposts were the same at each end because it was 10 or 12 of those. And we marked it out when we were kids. And when I go and buy anything today, I know, for instance, yes, that, that's all, about 34 inches. In metric, no idea. Now, great things you can do. How would you, if you wanted to copy this table, to cut a piece of wood, that table, how would you measure it? I haven't got a tape measure. You simply do, look, 2 sticks, one there, one there. That's it, that's the length. I can take it anywhere I like. Do you see what you're doing? You're using your mind and your brain. And this is what chippies used to do. People who made furniture, this is what they did. And they had rules of thumb. We seem not to be learning that anymore. We seem not to be using... What's happened here? Okay. Help! Let's get back to me. That's a clue. If I've gone that way, then it must be... Oh, no, that's the next. Well, I am going on, but I want to go back. Can I go back? That's it. Thank you very much. Right, so there we are. So these measurements. Thank you. Thank you. So the measurement. So that was the yard. Half a yard was a cubit. The Egyptians used a cubit. The Pharaoh had a longer cubit, about 3 inches longer, and he used to buy cloth. I like that cloth. How much is it? Oh, it's 16 new yards a cubit. Right, use my cubit. So he got 15% more for the longer cubit, and that's how that works. And it was fine. And half a cubit was a span. So there's a cubit, and half a cubit is a span, or 9 inches. And the piano was designed on that basis of the span of 9 inches. So you see people use their bodies, and it was incredible. And we should do it today. We should do it today. Pacing out. The Romans conquered the whole of Europe and lots of other bits, well, virtually all of it, and lots of other bits. And they knew the distance from any point in their realm to Rome. And how did they do it? Paced it out. They paced it out. Right? Now, I tried this myself, because I was doing a program, and I put a tape measure on the floor, and I went and measured where the heel had gone, a double pace. And then I thought, hang on, I'm not warmed up yet. So I did this. Same. And what was it? It was 1.76 yards. 1.76 yards. What is a mile? A mile? A mile. 1,000 double paces. 1,760 yards. So my pace was naturally the same as the Roman soldiers' pace 2,000 years ago, or thereabouts. And as long as they had a pacer, they could pace distances between anywhere. And it's quite incredible. So it's using your body. Now let's go the other way. Tell me this. What is the point that is halfway up your body? It is your belly button. Your belly button? Yeah, wrong. Did I lead you then? No, it's wrong. I worked with some doctors and physicians, really eminent sort of physicians, a couple of weeks ago. Audience about this size. I said, what's halfway up the body? Your navel. From about 80% of it. It's not. It's your pubic bone there, your pubic bone, just before it starts to get interesting. That's where it is. And that's halfway up your body, and it's there as a dotted line, and you can see it, it's there. You need a big feeling. However, there it is. Right. But that is roughly a yard as well. Now, why is he in a square and a circle? Well, we've done the square. His stature was the same. All right, but what about this? He is 2 yards, 4 cubits, or 8 spans high. But if you put your arm up here, your elbow is almost exactly the level at the top of your head. So you're another cubit, or 2 spans higher. You're 10 spans high. And 5 spans is where your belly button is. So 5 spans is the centre of the circle, and that's it. Why has he got 4 arms and 4 legs? Because man is dynamic. And this is the other thing you remember, kids. You must be dynamic. You must, excuse me, you must drive your bodies. You must run. You've got to run. Any school that says you can't run in the playground, parents, play hell with them. Playgrounds are for running in. When I was a lad in the Second World War, we had hobnail boots so that our shoes lasted us through the war. The fact that our feet grew bigger made no difference at all. I couldn't afford shoes. My mother used to paint my feet black and lace up my toes. But no, we had hobnail boots, and in our schoolyard it was pretty good service. So 4 or 5 or 6 of us used to make a chain and swing round, and the one on the end was hobnail skiing. And the sparks were coming out. And what was the object of the game? They'd come round to the corner and they'd swing you into the toilet wall. And you were 7 or 8 or 9. And it was brilliant. And occasionally you got a bruise. But it was brilliant. It was one of the greatest games. If they don't let kids do this, it's mental. You've got to exert yourself. You've got to run until you're sweaty and hot. You've got to do things, carry things that tire you out. You've got to know how your body works. And that's the other thing. So there we are. So that's all that. Let's move